Hello everyone, it's Luli, and today I'm going to be talking about Otome games that have non-male love interests. So there aren't many, but I did kind of rustle through my Otome game backlog that is endless, and I found a few, and of course I'm a little bit curious about them myself, so I thought I'd share them with you guys as well. But anyway, let me start. Now, first up is Hato no Kuni no Arisu, and this is actually part of a series. You've got the Clover one, you've got Spade now, which is available on Switch, you've got Diamond, and the toy box. Like, most of them are on the PSP because this is by Kuni, a company that went bust, which is really sad because I did like their games. But yeah, it's basically about this girl Alice, and you can imagine the story already, but she ends up lost in the world of Alice in Wonderland from her original place, and then she gets drugged, so that she can't go back to her original world. So because she's so like the way she is, she's just like, oh screw it, I'm just gonna enjoy my life here. And I guess she kind of gets to know all these different characters while she tries to figure out how to leave this world. Now, you'd expect it to kind of be like a happy fairy tale kind of world, but it's actually kind of a dodgy place to be, with all these characters that you think are sweet being things like mafias. I think there's like a mafia war going on a little bit. And you've got like people selling guns and like, I don't know, it sounds like an absolutely crazy world. And as you can tell, it's settled D. I've heard some routes can get a little bit spicy, and this doesn't surprise me because Kuni is kind of known to push the boundaries sometimes. And one thing to note is that Alice is a very unique main character, and this results in some people adoring this game and others not so much. She can sometimes borderline be rude to these characters, and she doesn't want to fall in love, I believe. So it's kind of like, will there really be a true love story? And obviously there is going to be because it's an Otome game, but it's kind of interesting to have a main character like that, you know. Now, this is the queen. So there's actually a female character that you can have a friendship with, but I think it's kind of like basically romance, and they call it a friendship, but you're like, so I am looking forward to that. Like, you know, it's funny because I kind of see her being one of those like powerful women, I don't know, so I can see the charm. And yeah, as you can tell, I am really looking forward to this. I'm not gonna lie though, this is like overpriced. I think the PSP version isn't too bad, but the PS Vita, honestly, this is like my treasure because I literally was like, and paid up because this is kind of visual novel style. Apparently the original is it has like gameplay and stuff, which can make it really long to complete. I believe you can get this, I think there is an English patch that you can install, so you can play this in English. I don't know how it works, but it's a possibility, so I would look it up if you're curious. But anyway, next game. Next up is Berubara Gakuen. Now, this is actually based on a very iconic manga in Japan called Versailles no Bara, which is actually about, it's based in like French Revolution period where you got Marie Antoinette, and it focuses on her. And then there's another character that's fictional called Oscar, who is a guard, but basically he's actually not a he, he's actually female, but has been brought up as male because he comes from a prestigious family who basically are sort of famous for their guardsmen. But unfortunately, the guy was not blessed with a male heir, so then the youngest daughter has to be brought up as male, and it's quite interesting. But this game is based on that, in the fact that it's a school. And this main character ends up going to this really rich person's school where there are these characters that resemble those in the manga. And it is, I haven't played it yet, but it's so sparkly. As you can see, like the artwork is like one of those sparkly old school type artwork. And I've heard it's cool in that you can basically see the romance between all these different characters. I think he isn't romanceable. But yeah, for example, you can have this character and this character fall in love, or you yourself, I think, can go with this female character. And so, you know, you've got lots of options, including a female main character, not female main character, including a female love interest. So yeah, I thought it fit this video perfectly. And I think the charm is to be able to see how the relationship unfolds between characters that you did not get to see relationships in the manga and stuff. So that's kind of like the charm this game is known for. And yeah, I must admit, I'm looking forward to it. I don't know, I'm hoping that the romance between the main character and her isn't just going to be a friendship, but an actual romantic one. I can imagine this, like the main character and this character being a romantic one, because she's kind of got like lots of fangirls because she's in an acting school, well, acting club in this school, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, getting all very excited. But yeah, it is, let me quickly summarize. It's about the main character who goes to the rich person school where there are these actors who act and situations occur, and I think she helps out not in the acting but like behind the scenes and stuff, and is seeing the romance unfold between all of these different characters. I haven't played it yet, but I am really looking forward to this. So yeah, that's Berubara Gakuen. Next up is, and this one's going to be localized at some point, it's蝶の毒華の鎖. And this is a game about this girl who is based in, I believe, I think it's a Taisho period. Let me have a quick read. Yeah, Taisho period. And back in those days, you had these rich families that kind of, they thought that working was a bit too low, and so they'd end up going through all their savings that they don't have enough of and become poor. And this is exactly the situation her family is in, and so it's a story about her looking for a potential fiance, and it's quite a dramatic sort of game. It's kind of almost like a melodrama. I have done a review on this because I've completed the main game, and this copy is actually an R18 copy, and some of the endings can be quite graphic, shall we say. I think the one that's going to be localized is R17, so you won't necessarily get the dodgy graphics, but I think it would be just as good, given that, you know, it's I think they've done a really good job cutting out the graphic bits, and I think there are extra CGs and stuff. So it's one of the games that I highly recommend. Note that, you know, you may want to look into the trigger warnings because this is an absolute crazy game. But yeah, it is fun, and I think all the endings, especially the bad ones, were bittersweet, and I think they were quite enjoyable. So definitely check it out. And now, I know the character isn't on the front here, but there is one character that you're able to complete who is female. She is this older woman, and oh god, that was a really good route. Like, I'm not into girls, but I thought that route was like one of the best, and it was almost like, I don't know, there was just, yeah, I don't want to go into detail because it's spoilers, but trust me, look forward to it. Even if you're not into girls like me, you will probably enjoy it if you like sort of this kind of melodramatic type game. So yeah, that is蝶の毒華の鎖. Next up is, and this is the last one I'll be talking about, is Charade Maniacs. This game is really cool. I played this one. It's kind of like playing werewolves. So you know how there's like a betrayer and you have to figure out who it is. So you've got 9 characters, and it's about this girl who gets isekai'd into this world where they're forced to act in dramas that are watched by like aliens, I think. And she kind of gets dragged into all of this, and the thing is, if you don't act, like if you don't agree with it, you get punished, and the punishments are quite like, ooh, type of thing. And yeah, I won't go into like detail again because it's spoilers, but if you do play this game, you'll be like, oh my gosh. Not to mention the kind of dramas they have to act get worse and worse and worse, and like some of the, like even at the beginning, right, you've got this like kind of innocent main character, and she has like, you'll have like a romance drama or something, and they might have to hold hands, and she's like, oh, I don't want to do this, but she has to. It's very like very angsty and gritty. Now the character that's non-male that you can date is this one. He's called Mizuki, and well, I say he, you know, they don't reveal their gender even until the end, so like I don't actually know what his pronouns are. I say he because it's an Otome game. In fact, I should be referring to them as they as opposed to he, because you can't tell whether they're female or male. And I personally, you know, it's really funny. As I said, I'm not really like, I'm definitely more into men than women, but in his or her or their case, I'm getting very confused because they don't tell you their pronouns, but in their case, I felt like the CGs looked much more beautiful and much more attractive if I were to imagine them as female. And yeah, so I think out of all the love interests out there in like the Otome world, if you're into characters that don't have a gender or are different, I guess, I would highly recommend playing their route, because honestly, it's confusing, and every single one of these characters have a reason why you want to kind of be suspicious of them, because, so basically one of them is a betrayer that caused them to end up in this dodgy isekai place where they're forced to do things that they don't want to. So one of these characters is a betrayer, and they all have things that make you feel very suspicious about them. And I guess one of the things here is that his mystery of, he doesn't reveal, well, they don't reveal their gender, so that's kind of one of the mysteries, like of, can you trust them type of thing, because why are they not able to trust you with their identity, which part of is of course gender, and it's exploring that topic, and I definitely recommend this game if that's something you're interested. So that's kind of the games in my backlog. I'm going to mention a couple of like honorable mentions. One is an indie game called Vergunty. I actually played this, and oh my gosh, it was the most emotional experience in my life. You've got two love interests. One is a young boy, and the other is your colleague who is a woman. And honestly, like, that was another melodramatic Otome game that I highly recommend you play if you can speak Japanese. Which reminds you, I didn't go through the ones that are available in English, did I? So, I believe this one has a patch, and you can get... Let me put it the right way around. Hato no Kuni no Aris has a patch, I believe. I'd look into it, so I think you can play this in English, the PC version. And蝶の毒華の鎖 is coming out in English at some point. I can't remember what the date was, but yeah. And then these unfortunately are unlocalized, therefore unavailable in English. Although, you know, with how many localizations we're getting, I'm very hopeful of what can and like may or may not be localized, if you know what I mean. Now back to honorable mentions. Vergunty is an indie game, so unfortunately there won't be a localization unless someone like volunteers and messages the creator, but that is a really good one. Another one, of course, and many of you probably know this, is Mystic Messenger, where there is a character that is, I think, female. I don't know the details, but yeah, so that's a game where you text amongst friends in the game, and yeah, you kind of see what they say. It's not for me, because you do need to kind of make sure you stick to answering messages, or you end up going down the bad ending. But for those who like the text style Otome games, I would recommend this, because I think it's one of the most popular out there, like mobile phone games. But anyway, that kind of concludes this Otome game video on games that have non-male love interests. Hopefully you found that interesting, and kind of like you've gotten an idea of what games to buy. I know I'm being such a bad influence. Do let me know if there are any questions you have regarding these Otome games, and hopefully I will see you in another one of my videos. Bye!